Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the free astrotheology course. I am Dr. Yasafa, and we're going to pick it back up. Of course, we are still in the Celestial Ship of the North, Volume 1, and I am very excited. The author is Emma Valencia Strayton. Very, very excited about the information we're going to cover, hopefully cover today. Give me one second. You see, I brought with me the astrology of the Old Testament, or the Lost Word Regained, published in 1892 by Carl Anderson. So hopefully we are going to get far enough into chapter 10 to be able to use that. I'm really really excited about this. Really excited about what you're going to learn. So let's begin. We stopped on page 167. 1 plus 6 is 7. Of course, 7 plus 7 is 14. So we got two sevens, right? Two sevens. And 1 plus 4 is 5. That has a huge significance, but I'm saving that. I'm saving that for volume 2. Okay? Before we get into that. And then also, but I guess I can't say this. I can say this. Gerald Macy in uh, in his lectures, Gerald Macy in his lectures reveals. You guys know he could read the hieroglyphs, the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Uh, he reveals the significance of the number 7 and 5 uh, in the Egyptian mystery. So when we say Egyptian mysteries, that is just the solarite stuff. Okay, just the solarite stuff between uh, circa 4550 BCE, when Pharaoh Menes came into power, the first of the human pharaohs. Of course, the pharaohs before that were the Titans, and then, of course, the gods, as we read about in the Celestial Ship of the North. So the humans, in my opinion, are Han Uman, because human is a contracted form of Han Uman. So they were hybrids of some sort. If you look at the iconography, you see that many of them are giants. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My point is that these pharaohs have already left the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, which was the stellar calendar, reckoning time and reality by the stars, circle 7, clock of destiny, natural law, do no harm or don't steal. All right. And then, of course, the workshop of the mind. So the solar system is the solar zodiac, which is a knockoff. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but it's the truth. The solar zodiac, the modern zodiac that everyone knows today, gained prominence through warfare, violence, birthright theft, and defamation of the great mother Typhoon and her son Sut, her only begotten son Sut, or Sut the dog star, Sirius. Okay, so now that's talking about the degradation and defamation of Circle 7 and the Clock of Destiny that we Moors always talk about, right? These are our foundational, actually foundational books, concepts, etc., natural law, which are natural law. All of the sciences, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. So anyway, 7 and 5, according to Gerald Macy, are extremely significant numbers. Of course, 7 plus 5 is 12. So you get the 12 apostles, right? Which are the 12 zodiac signs, right? And if you add one, the Messiah, you get 13, which is the SUN sun. But it goes further than that, y'all. But I'm gonna save it, okay? But I gave you that, so now you can go research that on your own. Gerald Macy's lectures, or just look in volume 2. Okay, so now you have something that you can do on your own. That's very specific. So you have a goal to find out the significance of the number 5, and then 5 and 7. Okay. All right. So let's pick it up. Are on page 167. This is so interesting. I didn't plan on doing it. Let me just say this. Let's the paragraph in the middle of the page. It begins with biblical Genesis. We are told. Look down a little bit lower than halfway down. You'll see quote unquote. You see quote unquote. Wisdom hath builded her. That's why you hear a lot of Hebrew Israelites saying that the Holy Spirit is female, is a woman, but we know that female is male and female are for animals. Man and woman are masculine and feminine. Why? Because the Hermetic law of gender is masculine and feminine, not male and female. So here's a quotation: Wisdom hath builded her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. So of course, we can look at this as many ways. So let's say wisdom is a Hermetic law of gender in its feminine function, right? Her house, this would be what? JC said himself. In his father has many abodes, right? Or many mansions, depending on which translation, talking about space itself. In my father's house, there are many abodes. Y'all see it? Wisdom has builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars. So the 7 traces back to, anytime you see 7, it traces back, hint, it traces back to the great mother typhoon, the thigh of the great bear. All right. The Elohim, the 7 sailors, etc., etc., etc. The 7 sons, the 7 stars of the great mother. Now, look at this. This is what I wanted to focus on. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 is 9. 10 is 9. So we've already discussed one reason for that. We've already discussed one reason why 10 is 9. And then that comes from, of course, C.M. Bay's work, Clock of Destiny. I turn exactly right to the page. Look, y'all. So here's why 10 is 9. Hold on. Here's why 10 is 9. Okay, now y'all can check the page number. I have it in my notes. Sorry, y'all. I don't know how to screen share. This app doesn't have screen share. And hold on. Do y'all see it? Oh, page 43. From page 43 of the Clock of Destiny. This is why 10 equals 9. Now, some people want complicated, sophisticated reasons, but simplicity is elegance in science. All right, yo. So this is one reason why 10 is 9. But there's another reason why 10 is 9 when we look at the solar deity itself. All right? When we look at the solar deity itself, we find out why 10 is 9. Let's pick it up. All right, page 167. So that's page 43 of The Clock of Destiny by C.M. Bay, Volume 1, y'all. You can read up more on why 10 is 9. All right. So here we are. Next paragraph. Legends of all countries, instinct with great beauty and uplift of thought, tell of the seventh. So, in other words, what this is saying, y'all, let's put this in perspective, scholars. Let's put it in perspective. Prior to our ancestors building modern day Kemet, this information about the circumpolar zodiac and geometry, algebra, uh, the configuration and conceptualization of the universe, everything that we have ever talked about, the Hermetic laws, everything that is, was, and that will be, had already existed with the symbology, with its symbology that was preserved for us. And it's still available. It's just been remixed or repurposed, and fake, false, fraudulent meanings have been associated with them. Because remember, the great mother and her son, Soot the dog star in the south, let me restate it, because Circle 7 and Clock of Destiny have been defamed, turned into something evil. Darkness itself has been turned into something evil by the Solarites and those who came after them and propagate this madness to this day. So, what am I saying? Nubia and all of those so called countries, which are really just our ancestors, our bloodline, memorialized in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Man who is sprung from the soil, Aboriginal man, the law, the law. The rightful heirs of all contracts and commerce, of all natural resources on planet Earth, the Sabian Moors, have been defamed by the hybrids. Genesis chapter 1, verse 20, is it 25, 26, y'all? By the hybrid, the Neanderthal, the Han Uman, who later gets remixed by the uh, by the contracted spelling, the original being Han Uman, contracted down to human, who has no birthright, who is non-descendable, who was charged or commissioned with putting the autochthonous Moors, the Aboriginal Moors, in subjugation into perpetuity. In other words, forever. Forever, ever, and ever. This is a Yaqub story, y'all. This is the Yaqub story. All of those ancient nations, some people might reference that or trace that back to the Table of Nations in Genesis. I don't remember if that's Genesis chapter 10 or 11. I forgot. But y'all know what I'm talking about. These alleged divisions, all of them knew of the circumpolar zodiac, the Great Mother Typhoon. Why? Because they all dealt with science, real science, not religious science, and not the solar zodiac and its solar religions, but pure science. Circle 7, clock of destiny, natural law, don't steal, don't injure anyone, don't harm anyone, and the workshop of the mind, balancing, harmonizing. In other words, being at peace. That's what the workshop of the mind is really about. You're at peace. Your left brain is in harmony with your right brain, which means that you're cycling at about 7 to 14, or in the middle of that is 10 cycles per second. That's all that means. You're at peace. And you're using both hemispheres of your brain in your daily life. Okay, you're using logic and imagination and creativity equally. Equally. That's all that means. Okay? And you willfully control that, meaning that you're not afraid of anything. You're not in struggle mode and you don't have to worry about anything. So it's the natural condition of the mind, which means that being in an environment, a situation where you have to be left brain heavy and right brain weak. In other words, you have to navigate through life uh, by using your left brain more, and the right brain is almost dormant by design. See, that's not natural. That is not natural, and it's purposefully that way. Y'all, let me say this, okay? I'm going to tell you what I perceive, and I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know it. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. But the Egyptian mysteries, when you boil all of this down, we're talking about the Solarite mystery schools, because there were no mysteries with the Sabian Moors. All of this stuff was known. It was publicly known. It was taught to everyone. It became a mystery in order to enslave you, in order to deceive you, to fraudulently get you to give up your birthright and participate in your own destruction. The mysteries boil down to psychological, let me rephrase that, boils down to psychic attacks, boils down to mind sciences, boils down to mind sciences that are used in a predatory way to capture and control you. You can sum this up. I didn't connect this. You can sum it up to, until now, you can sum it up to the weaponization of the Hermetic law of gender, the cuckoo bird egg phenomena, the weaponization of that, the predatory use of the Hermetic law of gender, specifically the cuckoo bird egg phenomena. That's what the mystery system boils down to. Because once you understand that the whole solarite system is just a fraudulent misrepresentation of the celestial ship of the North, the original zodiac, with its mythologies, which were merely teaching tools, with its mythologies, its metaphors. Felix Fortuna writes, Sophia is a woman. Sophia means wisdom. Also, uh, Athena, goddess of wisdom, birthed fully grown from forehead of Zeus. Prometheus, meaning forethought, and Epimetheus, meaning afterthought. Okay, thanks so much, Felix. So y'all see, you can see that when you talk about thought, where does thought take place? Thought takes place in the mind. All of a sudden, I feel hungry. I think it's because I'm drinking coffee. This is black coffee, no honey. I think it made my blood sugar level go down. Hold on a second, y'all. I need to order something so I can be comfortable. Hold on. But my point is, one of the problems when you come to a place so often, the people tend to hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, y'all. I'm back. Ah, let's do it. I just put an order in. All right. So Felix, let's get back to what you're talking about. So you said forethought, right? Afterthought. Thought is the activity of the mind. Of course, the activity of the mind is a hermetic law of mentalism, right? And think about this, y'all. If you are perpetually, and everyone does, if you perpetually cycle, well, let me rephrase it. If the no do how do I want to say this? Let me just say it. People cycle through the same thoughts, the same thoughts. In other words, these thoughts are not original. Why? Because you have been psychically attacked. This is the predatory use of the cuckoo bird egg phenomena, predatory use of the hermetic law of gender in its feminine function. So you're cycling through the same thoughts. You get triggered by something you experience with your senses, right? Something you see, something you hear, something you taste. Y'all can relate to this because sometimes you're conscious. You'll hear something that, wow, that reminds me of something. Or you'll smell something, oh, now you want to eat. Or you'll smell something, see something, it calls a memory to your mind. You want to do something. Or you see an advertisement. All of a sudden, you need to have a new pair of Nikes. You need to have a new iPhone. Why? Advertising is a great example of the cuckoo bird egg phenomena. Also, movies and product placement in movies are excellent examples of the cuckoo bird egg phenomena and the hermetic law of gender, the feminine function. Everybody understand? So when you cycle through these thoughts, this is an example of the hermetic law of rhythm. It's not just the ocean going in and out, the ocean going in and out. No, it is rhythmic cycles of thought that produce behavior. So if someone wants to control you, they will expose you or attack you, which is what has happened. They attack you psychically, as they do now. And a lot of you might argue against it. I'm minded. I like this. I like this because that's who I am. No, 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 no. You don't like that because that's who you are. You like that because you have been mentally conditioned or somebody, and you have no knowledge of what I'm talking about. You have no knowledge of the ethics. You think it's you who chose to buy the iPhone, buy the Nike. You think it's you who is making all of these decisions, but it is not you. You, my friend, unfortunately, but I'm going to be the strong man to tell you this, you didn't even much know who you is. Like my mother used to say, who you are is about this much of what you conceive you to be. You don't know yourself. You are undeveloped. You are undeveloped, severely undeveloped. That's why I thought, my mother, my biological mother, I thought, okay, thank you. My biological mother, as I got older, I began to see her. Damn, they didn't do what I wanted. You know, hold on, y'all. I'm not paying for this. Hold on. Hey, yo. Man, I don't like it. I have yeah, I didn't do it. Didn't do it. That either I get sick or see that's not crushed. It's supposed to be crushed like a smooth. I don't know if they do that on purpose because they don't like me. Ah, no, no. You know what? Yeah. Uh, this is the best they can do. Because I can't. I don't like the way it tastes. All right, sorry. Shit, now I'm gonna have to pay for it and don't drink it because I've experienced in Asian countries they can be very petty and maybe they might spit in it, so I'm not gonna drink it. I'm gonna send it back. I'll just pay for it. But I don't like to let people do something like that to me. I ask for something and they bring me exactly what I told them not to do because then people will run over you. It's been so long since I've been in the Maghrib Al Aqsa, but being in Asia, uh, Southeast Asia for so long, um, you just have to be very cautious and careful because this whole saving face thing and the pride thing and people perceive you as say you're a foreigner, they perceive you as being rich and all of these crazy perceptions, and sometimes people just want to hurt you for no reason. This is the truth. And actually being in Asia, y'all, well, it's a story for another day. But I'm thankful for all of the experiences I had like that in Southeast Asia because that's what really uh, woke me up because I was all messed up with the religion, all messed up with the religion. But anyway, it's a story for another day. Where was I? I forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about? Uh, Hold on. Let me. I'll be right back. Let me tell them to just. I'll pay for it. I don't want it. All right, y'all. Okay. Cycling through these thoughts. You're not aware that these thoughts are not your thoughts, especially because you've been watching TV your whole life, listening to rap music your whole life, all kinds of media you've been exposed to your whole life, and it was presented to you consistently through your mother and father, through your mother and father, and other people who you trusted. So Felix writes, people are basically the same the world over. Oh, okay. Um, and so basically you are hypnotized, but let me state it in a different way. We have a higher self and a lower self, right? Higher self and a lower self. So in the celestial zodiac, in the solar zodiac, this is the solstitial line. Summer solstice is the higher self. This is the highest elevation of the sun during the summer months or during those months where the summer dominates. So from March 22nd, thereabout, the sun will ascend, reaches its highest or maximum elevation at approximately June 22nd, and then it begins to fall, and then it crosses below the celestial equator sometime around September.
You know what? The smoothie is the crush eye that you need. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but
my
I don't.
lack of
No,
knowledge about
I pay for it, but I don't want it.
Now is really the things we need.
No, I don't want it.
Oh, no.
I pay for it. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
You take
sorry.
it back. No, it's okay. I'm not angry. Yeah. It's just I don't.
That's my bad. Because
no, it's not. It's not your fault. No. They do that. I've ordered it before. They've done it almost every time. That's why I stopped ordering. Oh. Yeah, that's why I don't order other stuff, because they always.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Don't worry about it. But thanks. You, ayo. Where was I at, yo? Hold on. Oh shoot. Oh, where was I? Oh. So anyway, so that's the Hermetic law of rhythm, and uh, the that's how the Hermetic laws and the zodiac has been weaponized and used predatorially. Is that a word? Against the masses of people. Everyone understand? So that's a Hermetic law of rhythm, right? These thoughts, these desires, these emotions come rhythmically, and you find yourself engaged in the same behavior. Get out of one relationship because of some bad uh, personality traits or behaviors with this person. You go into the next one, and you find that it's the same personality and behavior, just a different man or a different woman. And you wonder why you keep cycling through these same problems. You have no idea why. Well, now you know why. You need to change you. First of all, you need to find out who you are. Like my mom say, find out who you is. Okay? I really miss y'all. I really miss the dialect of English of our people, especially the Southern dialect. You know, the Southern dialect now is different from the Southern dialect of my mother and her mother. But I miss that, being overseas so long. I really miss that. And, you know, over there where you guys at, if you are in North America, they try to make you feel ashamed of it. Uh, but it's actually a very complex uh, language, and it's there's no shame to be found in it at all, y'all. But anyway, so that's the Hermetic law of rhythm, how it can be. Now that's the negative or the predatory use of it. There's also a positive use from it of it rather, and that positive use was what was in play during the celestial ship of the North period, or the Sabian period. Okay, y'all? All right? All right. So let's keep going. So all of these nations, our ancestors, they knew this science. Back to page 167. Legends of all countries. Instinct legends are what? Mythologies, right? Instinct with great uplift of thought, with great uplift of, hold on, y'all, I need to check, hold on. Oh man. Hold on. Excuse me, y'all. Hold on. 9 o'clock. Trying to. I'm really hungry. Let me just deal with it. All right. So back to so the rishis of India, the Hogates of our California Indians, the spirits of the Great Bear in Egypt, China, and Japan, the seven branched candlestick, the seven spirits before the throne. Listen, y'all, the seven pillars of wisdom, as well as the seven gifts of the Holy Ghost, typifying the seven stars revolving about the ancient mother. This is the great mother typhoon, who in those far away times, this is the Sabian period, was known as, quote unquote, the living word. I used to remember the um the fruit of the spirit. What were they, y'all? Man, I haven't thought about this in I don't know how long. I don't even want to try to remember because I'm hungry. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this. Hold on. What can I do? Not hungry. I need something sweet. Let me show y'all this place. I'm gonna y'all bear with me. Hold on. Can I do this? Hold on. I don't know how to really work this app too much. Well, let me just show you. Let me show y'all around here. So this coffee shop is very big. It's kind of typical. Can y'all see that? Oh, I got to Mic check, 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 mic check. About 10 years ago, we launched the first and most widely used stablecoin, enabling over 400 million people worldwide to dollars. But Tether is more than a stablecoin. It's a mission to build open sovereign for everyone, everywhere. Stability. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. All right. Okay, so I'm still good. So let's continue, y'all. I had to go buy some food. I don't know why I just felt. Mic check, mic check. About 10 years ago, we launched I felt very hype. I still feel very hypoglycemic right now. And I think it's because of that coffee. So I need to eat something. I had to run. I'm going to eat some fried food. But got to do what you got to do. Let's see. All right. Much better. So let's keep going. Back in business. All right, y'all. So here we are. We're going to continue. We're on page 167, the last paragraph. So the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit, the seven gifts of the Spirit, all of these trace back to the Great Mother Typhoon, as represented by the seven stars that make up the Great Bear, who are the seven sons, the Elohim, so on and so forth, y'all. Okay, everyone see that? Those far away times, he's talking of the author, she's talking about the Sabian period, all right? Which is not so far away, in my opinion, you know. So page 168, 6 plus 1 is 7, plus 8 is 15, 1 plus 5 is 6. All right, so we are back at 3, 6, 9, and 12. Yeah, C and Bay, right? The code of law. Okay, the code, those numbers that represent the code of law. So let's continue. Let's continue with it. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, these gods of the circle, our ancestors created time by drawing a boundary around that which was boundless. This is the circle, okay? And then out of that conceptualization of the universe, the Solarites abusively use that concept, the algebra and geometry, all of those equations and the principles uh, and discoveries in law. They use that uh, deceptively to create the first concept of God, to create the first concept of God. All right. and then the actions of God, they hijacked through the mechanism we already talked about, the workshop of your mind, so that you could create, or so that these things that they were attributing to God, you would then create it through the workshop of your own mind, and you don't have any idea that you're doing it. Okay, you think it's an external God doing it because that's what you have been indoctrinated to believe through the mechanisms that we just talked about. Okay, y'all. So the gods of the circle. I've done I don't know how many videos that I recently did on the original concept of God. Watch Dr. Ben's video. I posted a link to the video with Dr. Ben discussing all of this. And that's how I was able to put two and two together, by watching that video. And you know how I found the video? Through the workshop of my mind. Okay, y'all? All right. So watch the videos if you want to know more about this circle and God, the Hermetic law of opposites, polarity. All right. He continues, these gods of the circle and of the seven, and of the quote unquote seven Alu, AAHLU, were termed the quote unquote ancestors of light. Ancestors of light means before light. Of course, he's talking about sunlight, or, well, let's just keep it at that, as sunlight. So remember, you have to remember that the darkness, central sun emits black rays that are reflected off celestial bodies to produce an illusion, what we call light. In other words, what we call sunlight is only reflected black rays that are emitted from the central sun. Okay, so that's why they are illusion, or called a mind. All right, and here's the thing: JC, YHWH, all of the solar deities and the solar sons of a virgin mother, they're all the sun. What does it mean? They're all illusions. They're not the reality. The reality is the dark or the black rays. All right? Coming from the central sun. So why should you submit yourself to an illusion? See, this is why it's so important for you to know who you are. So, let me go back. The whole point of me mentioning uh, the 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 fact that people don't know who they are, they're only familiar with the the cuckoo bird egg phenomena, which is not you. So we have a higher self and a lower self. The higher self in the solar system is the summer solstice. The lower self is the winter solstice. Okay, in other words, light and darkness, good and evil. Y'all get it? Every man, every woman has a capacity to be good or to be evil, right? Depending on your behavior. Behavior follows thought, right? Thought reinforces behavior. This is the Hermetic law of rhythm. You get sick cycles. You cycle in and out. You get triggered, you know. So whoever you are in this fleshly body must be aligned with your true self or your higher self. Let me put it like that. Your higher self. There has to be alignment. And when you are aligned with who you are, who you really are, when that's aligned with your higher self, this is connotatively speaking when what you desire comes to you. Meaning to say you know how to willfully with intent get what you want without a struggle. Okay, and this is where they fool people with the manifestation philosophies and stuff like that. That's how they're fooling people. They don't tell you the whole story. All right, this is where the feeling, visualization, imagination, and feeling and envisioning, seeing you with whatever it is you want, good health, wealth, uh, beautiful home, beautiful consort, seeing that already happening and living there and experiencing it in the blackness. In other words, in your mind. When? When? Well, at about 10 cycles per second. But especially the sweet spot is especially that space, that transitional space between awakeness and sleep. Being able to go there and control it, stay there as long as you want, right? Wake up and then you reactivate, go through this whole thing again. Okay, so when you become very skilled at this is when you can just desire something and it comes to you. Does it come to you right away? In a lot of cases, it just depends on your belief about it, right? But sometimes things may have to be moved into position for it to come to you, okay? So this is what they have stolen from you and attributed to God. All right, y'all? The hijacking of the workshop of the mind. So let's continue. Okay, so they were called the ancestors of the light. So in this book, the Celestial Ship of the North, volume 1, you read page 9 and page 14. Okay, the Hebrew Elohim created light. That's Genesis chapter 1. The Hebrew Elohim created light. In Genesis, we read, quote unquote, let there be light. And there was light, which indicates that the seven were the primordial, or the earliest, the first light bringers of the first creation. So we know there's no creation, there's only formation and reformation, right? The Hermetic law of transformation. Hold on, y'all. Vietnamese version of fried chicken. Mm, that's good. You know what's funny, y'all? Like Chinese food that you get in North America, is not real Chinese food. You can't find that in Asia. So I always wonder, where did that come from? Nobody eats that. Now, of course, this is Vietnamese. Well, this is Vietnamese food, but you have Chinese food in Vietnam, right? The Chinese influence is very heavy in Vietnam. But that ain't real Chinese food y'all eat. And if I remember correctly, I mean, it's been so long since I had Taiwanese food, Thai food in the Maghreb. But if you go to Thailand, you're not going to get the same food that you would get outside of Thailand. And the food in India is worse. I was so disappointed and shocked when I went to India. The main reason I went was to experience the food, enjoy the food. It was terrible. And then I found out that in India, listen to this, y'all. In India, the people can't afford the spices. So the spices are export items. So don't go to India thinking you're going to get some good Indian food. I was very disappointed about that. I mean, you can get some good food, but it's nowhere near as good as it is in foreign countries because the spices are too expensive. I was very disappointed with the food, extremely disappointed, and the people too. Being to be quite honest, they seem wild. Not all, but too many of them seem wild. Hold on. Okay, so let's do this again. The Hebrew Elohim created light. In Genesis, we read, quote unquote, let there be light. And there was light, which indicates that the seven were the primal light bringers of the first creation, which was Sabian in origin, meaning that it was before the current or modern zodiac, which is the solar zodiac. Okay, y'all? The seven always points back or traces back to the thigh of the great bear, the great mother typhoon. Okay? So indeed, quote unquote, these generators and ancestors. So now we see generators. Now this is the solar zodiac because it's talking about a generator. So when JC told the Pharisees, well, I don't remember if it was Pharisees or the Sadducees, when he told them, I am before. In other words, I'm older than Abraham. I existed before Abraham. What he's talking about is that well, actually, he was telling the solar story. He was telling the celestial origin of the Son of God, the only begotten Son, the celestial story of the great mother and her only begotten son. She has no father. She had no husband. So this is why the son is called the widow. The son is called the son of a widow, or the widow's son, the widower's son, the widow's son, because no man had the divine status. So the great mother typhoon forms, produces her only begotten son, who will sit the dog star in the south celestial pole. Clock of destiny, right? Everybody see that? Clock of destiny. Celestially, not fleshly, not historically, but a celestial story, a teaching tool. The son becomes his mother's consort, becomes his mother husband, and they have a child. The child is their father. The child that the son and the mother have becomes Sut's father. And now Sut generates the mother. And now you get the father, the mother, and son. You get the Trinity. Okay, y'all, which is a remix of the reality. The reality is the celestial story. Okay? The reality is just the great mother typhoon producing her only begotten son, Sut the dog star in the south. And then the Solarites came in and finessed the rest, which is the story I just told y'all, which is how the father comes in and becomes the generator, because the father has no womb. Before that, the celestial ship of the north, the great mother typhoon, the celestial North Pole, broadly speaking, is the matrix or genetrix of the world. In other words, the womb of the world. So when they remix that story, they can't say that the father is the genetrix or the matrix. So they said he's the generator, right? Because he ain't got a womb. Everybody see that? That's how they finessed it. And then they degraded and defamed, slandered and libeled the great mother typhoon and her son Sut, presented them by word of mouth and on paper as evil and wicked and ignorant, etc., 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 and then presented the illusion, the reflected sunlight, as being God and God's son. Do y'all get it? Do y'all get the hustle? How badly they have tricked us? All right. Everybody get the hustle? How you been hustled, bamboozled? These generators, so now they're saying that the Elohim are men. No, 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 no. There was no divine man in the Sabian period. None. Okay? And we're going to deal with these seven sailors and so on and so forth. Okay? Now remember, we're talking celestially. So this is just gender. It's not a fleshly man or a fleshly woman. It is gender, masculine and feminine gender, or masculine and feminine energy. Ain't no different than anode and cathode, negative and positive energy, okay? And I don't mean negative as in bad. I mean, like you look at your battery, you'll see one side is negative, the other side is positive. It's just energy. That's different, okay? So let's continue. These generators and ancestors of light were so ancient that they had been sublimated, divinized, and regulated to a kind of spiritual realm beyond the phenomenal creations described in the book of Genesis. The footnote reads Gerald Macy, A Book of the Beginnings, Volume 2, page 142. The second source is Blavatsky H.P., her book called The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, page 448. Okay, y'all. So they're taking this right out of the circumpolar zodiac. Darkness, page 9 and page 14 of this book. Darkness is the true light, pure spirit. Jax Jax writes, where did the name typhoon come from? Typhoon, they made that up. Look at your spelling. Typhoon. They doubled the O. This is not the Great Mother Typhon. The Great Mother Typhon is Typhon. Let me show you that if I can find it really quickly. So if you Google search or you YouTube search the name you just put in, Typhoon, you're going to see that it's nothing but negativity, evil, wickedness, dragons, and all kinds of crazy stuff, which is the defamation of the Great Mother Typhoon. It is the libel and slander of the Great Mother Typhoon that the Solarites have done as part of their conquest and turning people away and against the Great Mother Typhoon. Okay, all right, all right. Hold on, let me find it really quickly. Show you the correct. The great Mother Typhoon, Typhoon, however pronounced Typhon, also called the old woman. Okay, why? Oh, because she's the first of everything. Hold on. Let me find it, y'all. In this game, y'all, remember we're dealing with word magicians, okay? And the mystery and the magic at its essence is psychic attacks. It's just ways to hypnotize you. All right? That's all. Ways to get you to behave and think in a certain way where they can control you and trigger you using stories, right? And so when you talk about using stories, you're talking about narrative transportation. That concept, narrative transportation, okay? That's one of the mechanisms. Here we are. There you are. Can y'all see that? Everybody see? Typhon, not Py, not Typhon. Is it clear? Where did the name typhoon come from? It is ancient, ancient. How ancient? It's its age, as the authors will tell you, is unquantifiable and undeterminable. That's how old it is. Does that answer your question, Jax? Hold on. It's difficult to eat this without. It's difficult to eat chicken without using your hands, right? Man, I was so hungry. I'm feeling a little better now. Jax, does that answer your question? The Great Mother Typhoon, read the first 14 pages of the Celestial Ship of the North, and you'll have a very good understanding of who she is. So let's go back to page 167. I want to try to get to what I'm excited about. Page 168, y'all. My bad. Jax Rice, yes, thank you. My pleasure. Okay, so let's continue. Page 168. Generations were of heaven. Listen, listen, y'all. Think back. Generations were of heaven and astronomical. So now we'll talk about generations. Talk about what about the generations in the Old Testament? What about the generations that Matthew went through in his effort to prove that JC uh, was the rightful Christ by birth or Messiah by birth? Generations were of heaven and astronomical. Now, think back to circle 7. Circle 7, circles. Now, add in the vertical and horizontal line or the cross. Now you have 4 corners. You have the 4 corners that were stolen, plagiarized, and put in the solar zodiac projection, right? So let's go back to the original uh, 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 circumpolar zodiac. We're back at circle 7. The circle gets divided into 4 quadrants, 4 equal quadrants. One is represented by the hippopotamus, which represents water. Okay, water. Another quadrant is represented by the phoenix, fire, later changed to a lion. Another quadrant is represented by a crocodile, representing earth. The last quadrant is represented by an ape, representing air. The 4 quadrants, let's skip that part. The circle is now divided into 10 generations. Y'all remember this story? The 10 are further subdivided into 70. Now, in the solar zodiac, that gets remixed into 12 and 72. What's the mechanism? Do y'all remember? The mechanism is the precession of the equinoxes. Every year, the sun will rise up over the horizon a little bit, let me see, how about like a little bit backward. That's forward. A little bit backward than it did the last time, the year before, a little bit backward, until after 2000. How many years is 2000? 2,160 years. I forgot. I didn't forget. It's not at the top of my mind right now. 2,160 years or so is the length of time of one zodiacal age. That 2,160 years is represented by 30 degrees, or represented as 30 degrees. So the 70 gets remixed into 72. We're talking generations Okay, celestial generations. It's astrology. Let me get the page for you guys to study. Uh, okay, so let me make this point. I'm looking at page 162. 10 tribes of Israel are 12 tribes of Israel are solar. Mic check, mic check. Am I still here, y'all? Can y'all hear me? I got cut out. Is it back? Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. I got cut off. I don't know if y'all put a one in there if you can hear me, please. Mic check, mic check. Subscribe to the channel, y'all. Mic check, mic check. Y'all hit the like button and subscribe. Mic check, mic check.
One of the biggest lies I see people tell themselves about Philip Martin is I am too old to start.
Mic check, mic check. Subscribe to the channel, y'all. All right, we're still good. I'm still on. All right. Where is it? Okay. So page 164 in the 46th chapter of Genesis, we are told that all the souls that came into Egypt were 70, the traditional number of the house of Jacob, These were the 70 that preceded the solar zodiac. It preceded the solar zodiac, so therefore it preceded the solar religions, all of them. Okay, thanks, Jack. Jack writes, you're good now. These were the 70 that preceded the solar zodiac and were synonymous with the 70 elders who judged the people of Israel. Okay, 7 plus 0, 70 is 7 plus 0 is 7. Okay, this is the Great Mother Typhoon. The 7 stars that make up the thigh of the Great Bear, today called the Big Dipper. But let me continue because that's not, there's another paragraph that directly addresses what we're talking about. I just need to find it really quickly. Hold on. Page 168. So 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 8 is 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. Last page, last paragraph. Here it says, okay? Oh, this is where we were. Hold on. No, that's not what I want, y'all. Hold on. Let me fold that over. There's a paragraph that specifically in chapter 10 that specifically deals with this. Here we are, page 158. 1 plus 5 is 6, 8, and then 6 plus 8 is 14. 15. Wait. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 8. That's right, 14. The 10 divisions, the 10 sons. Hold on, y'all. Man, what's going on with me? I feel really. Hold on. All right. So the 10 divisions, the 10 sons coincide with the Hebrew 10 divisions. And they were the 10 races of men mentioned in the Persian Bandashish, which preceded the Chaldean. But Egypt tells us of no similar legend. Their knowledge of a deluge beyond the cycles of time. There were two lists of patriarchs, this is my point, who preceded the flood, called that of Noah. There were 7 names in one list and 10 in another. Wherefore, the number of nations into which the earth was representing the duodecans of the solar zodiac, which superseded the 7, the 10, and the 70. He's talking about the story I just told y'all. Remember the 2 year, the two that were added, the 2 generations that were added to the 70 due to the precession of the equinoxes? Hold on. On page 157, in the 10th chapter of Genesis, the 7 sons that came from Mitzrayim, this is the 7th star, the second star, the handle of the tail of the great bear, which is the thigh. They call it the 7 appear under various names in every ancient mythology and are always the 7 stars of the constellation of the great bear. From this first Sabian circle of 7, that delete the now you get circle 7. Now you get circle 7. So when we talk about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when he said he was referencing the circumpolar zodiac, the original zodiac. This is why you see Elijah Muhammad. Mic check, mic check. See, I was cut off again. Okay, y'all, we didn't know what we were looking at. We did not know what we were looking at. Y'all hit the like button and subscribe. Mic check, mic check.
One of the biggest lies I see people told social marketing is I have to own.
Hold on, y'all. I have to check to see if the signal is there. Let me check the signal. I got disconnected. Let me check. Mic check, mic check. Oh, do we have a everyone subscribe? Hit the subscribe button now, please. Like the video, hit it now, please. Mic check, mic check.
Really believe in yourself.
Hit the like button, y'all, while we wait so I can see if I'm still live. If you can hear me. Oh, do we have a everyone subscribe? Hit the subscribe button now, please. All right, so I'm good. So we're still going. I lost my spot. Where am I? Oh, okay. Page 157. In the 10th chapter of Genesis, the 7 sons that came forth from Mitzrayim are given. Of course, that's the Mitzrayim above, celestial Mitzrayim, right? And then later, earthly Mitzrayim. The Hermetic law of correspondence, as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, as without. Now, listen, as within, as without. If you don't even much know who you is, go back to what we were talking about. This is you, the real you, but this is you, the conditioned you. All right? This is you, the result of the cuckoo bird egg. And this is you. As above, so below, as below, so above, as within, as without, and vice versa. Guess what? If this is you, you are out of alignment with the law. Y'all get it? You are out of alignment with nature. Your inner self is not is not aligned with your higher self. Everybody get it? If you're in the solar zodiac, the solar religions, you are misaligned. Your alignment is off. That's my point. So when we return to the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, 7 o'clock of destiny, natural Mic check, mic check. Is we is or is we ain't, y'all? Is we is or is we ain't? Is we is or is we ain't?
There's three signs that you should probably start.
Hold on, y'all. I have no control over this. If I get kicked out, I have no control over it.
There you go.
All right, sounds good. Is we is or is we ain't? All right. So listen. Let's try to do this again. Page 157. In the 10th chapter of Genesis, the 7 sons that came forth from Mitzrayim are given. I already explained to you what that is. These 7 appear under various names in every ancient mythology and are always the 7 stars of the constellation of the Great Bear. From this first Sabian circle of 7, called the heaven of the Elohim, and of course the Elohims are the only supreme Elohim that CM talked about. So called the heaven of the Elohim came the division of 10, the subdivisions of which created the 70 degrees or nations. There you are, generations, right? Or nations, celestial nations that were anterior, that were before, that were anterior to the solar circle of the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's all purely astrological. Read it for yourself. I have to admit, this is difficult to get this out. Can y'all see the page number? Put this in the record. All right. Okay. So the 7, the 10, and the 70 are Sabian. Before there ever was a solar zodiac, and this is evidence that the solar zodiac is new. It's not the mindset of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Noble Drew Ali didn't say go back to the mindset of the Solarites. He said go back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. These would be Sabian. All right. Page 158. The 10 divisions, the 10 sons coincide with the Hebrew 10 divisions. And they were the 10 races of men mentioned in the Persian Bandahish, which preceded the Chaldean. But Egypt tells us of no similar legend. Their knowledge of a deluge beyond to the cycles of belonged rather to the cycles of time. That's celestial. Celestial deluge, not earthly. There were 2 lists of patriarchs who preceded the flood, called that of Noah. They were the 7 names in one list and 10 in the other. Wherefore, the number of nations into which the new earth was arranged was 72, representing the duodecans of the solar zodiac, which superseded the 7, the 10, and the 70. In other words, it came after. In other words, it took over. It replaced the Sabian or the circumpolar zodiac. Jack's right. So which two zodiacs were added? No, it's not. It's not. That's your question is not framed right. Correctly, rather. Virgo, Scorpio was separated at the beginning of the solar domination, because Aries becomes the soot becomes I don't want to say God. Soot becomes a god. He becomes a solar god. You remix Soot into a solar god. They put a crown on his head, and it has two horns. So Soot becomes renamed to Civic Rock, the solar zodiac. They need to account for this. They need to account for it. So what did they do? They broke away Virgo Scorpio, separated them, and then Leo, the Greeks did this, introduced, not Leo, introduced Libra or Libra. So now you have two extra zodiacs. All right, that's how that's broken down. I'll go through it if I come across it. I'll take you through it. Don't worry about it. On the two list of the names of the patriarchs that preceded the flood of Noah, the first seven are Adam. Now remember, this is going to generations. This is going to generations that we talked about. The first seven, the names of the patriarch that preceded the flood of Noah, the first seven are Adam, Cain, Hanok, Jared, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. The second list, or the second, comprises Adam, Seth, Enos, Cunan, Mahalalel, Jared, Hanok, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. These are commonly called the Elohistic and Jehovistic records, and are two forms of the Hebrew generations given in one of the creation legends. So you already know it's not ancient because it's solar, right? This is some remixing that the Solarites did, all right, to the original teaching tools or metaphors and mythologies that our ancient Sabian, Moabite, Canaanite, etc. ancestors used to teach this information even to children, so that they could remember it easily. All right.
Oops.
All right.
Can I take a cup?
Yeah.
You pay already.
I paid already.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, thanks. What time do you close?
Nearly 10.
Okay. Page 160. This is what I wanted. I found it. Let's start in the middle of the page. A rectification on astronomical grounds of the original 70 resulted in a total of 72. A rectification. See, they need to account. They need to account for those 12 zodiac signs. All right. So a rectification on astronomical grounds of the original 70 resulted in a total of 72, representing the dual decans of the solar zodiac. And when the latest arrangement was based upon the 12 signs and the 72 dual decans of the solar zodiac, the 10 tribes became 12. So the 10 tribes are Sabian, the 12 tribes are solar. Two different zodiacs. The solar is just a cheap remix, a knockoff. It's a fraud, a hustle to loose you of your birthright and enslave you. Let's continue. When Jacob of the 10, now y'all see why the Khazars always claiming Jacob. When Jacob of the 10 was changed to Israel of the 12, it was said that the 70 princes were not the children of the true, i.e., later God. Why? Because they came from a time before the patriarchy. They came from a time before the Solarites conquered. They're the original Aboriginal people. Jax writes, so a full circle cycle according to celestial time equals 10 generations. I'm not sure. There are many cycles. Wait. There are many cycles. There's a huge number of cycles. So remember the circle 7, as regards circle 7, that cycle, that was divided into 4 quadrants. And then that the universe then, or that circle, is divided into 10, and then further subdivided into 70. But there are many celestial cycles. There are many celestial cycles, so you can't say that. It's specific to the cycle, in my opinion, Jax. When Jacob of the 10 was changed to Israel of the 12, when the Sabian Jacob, when his name, when Sabian Jacob, Sabian period Jacob, the Solarites changed his name to Israel. Okay, so Solarites, they had already made 12 zodiac signs. Why? Because they that they made a god out of Set, called him Savic Ra, and called him the Lamb of God. All right, called him the Lamb of God.
Yeah, we're close.
You're close? Okay. All right. Islam, Shalom. I have to go, y'all. Thanks for joining me.